Good evening, everyone. It's Friday evening, and that means it's time for an update as far as my works in progress. So, thank you for joining me for my weekly book vlog. My name is DeAndrea Matthews. For those of you who don't know me, my author name is Dr. DC Matthews, and I have another author name, which is my fiction pen name, and that is DeAndrea Wiggins. So, those are my author names. I use not DeAndrea Wiggins, but DC Wiggins for fiction, and I use Dr. DC Matthews for nonfiction. I do think I have one book out there that is in my government name, DeAndrea Matthews, but for the most part, I stick to DC Matthews for fiction. So I'm sorry, for nonfiction, and DC Wiggins for fiction. So I always like to share some literary resources before I give my weekly update. So this week is the same. I've got a couple of resources to share with you. So I want to start with this book, which is called The Christian Writer's Market Guide. Now you'll notice that this copy is 2017, so obviously this is an old copy. A new copy comes out each year. However, this is the last printed version that I purchased. So this is the Christian Writer's Market Guide. Again, it has a ton of resources for not only getting published, but also places where you can market or promote your books and other merchandise. So I'll just share a couple specialty markets, which is one of the areas of focus in this book. So for example, part one is book publishers, part two is independent book publishing, part three, periodical publishers, and part four are specialty markets, and then part five is support for writers. But I want to focus on specialty markets because, for example, it gives you websites and information for daily devotional booklets. So if somebody has written a devotional or wants to write a devotional, that section is helpful. If you want to do greeting cards and gifts, it has a section for that. And lots of other information. I won't go into all of it, but again, if you are a Christian writer, and I'm a Christian nonfiction writer, this is an invaluable resource. So again, the Christian Writer's Market Guide, get the most up-to-date version, not like my ancient version here, but again, it comes out every year, and that's a wonderful resource if you are a Christian writer. The other one is the Christian Writer's Manual of Style. So this is very helpful if you're going to be doing some self-editing before you send your manuscript to the professional editor. And I always encourage you to use a professional editor. There are actually 12 different types of editing that a book can go through. I would say at bare minimum, you should have at least 3 specific types of editing that your manuscript goes through before you even think about being ready to publish it. But the Christian Writer's Manual of Style is another helpful resource. You can see I have an older edition, but this is still an invaluable resource. And what I want to share out of this one is it has a whole section on Bible style. And I'll tell you why that is significant. Not only does it have the names for Bibles, how to quote from the Bible, online Bibles, Bible versions in English, Bible versions in other languages. It has all of the acronyms and so much wonderful information. But the reason I like that in this resource, hope you can see that, the Christian Writer's Manual of Style, the reason that I like that is because one of my personal pet peeves as a publisher. A lot of times you get a manuscript and the author has not taken the time to indicate which Bible translation that they are using. The King James Version is the only version that is currently in the public domain. And that means that it's no longer under copyright. So with King James, you can quote from King James as often as you want to, but a lot of people use other translations, and other translations have specific rules, whether it is limited to 300 words from that particular translation. Some of them are limited to 500 words from that translation. Some of them have even more stringent guidelines about the number of words that you can quote and things of that nature. So it's important to distinguish which version of the Bible you are using if you have any quotes from the Bible in your book. And that really is on the author to do. So again, that's why it's one of my pet peeves, but also why I really enjoy this resource, The Christian Writer's Manual of Style. So those are my two resources I wanted to share with you today. And again, each week I'll try and share other resources that I have in my extensive library. But I know that everyone is waiting to kind of hear my update. So I am pleased to share with you that I was able to steal away this weekend and have some quality R&R. And if you don't know what R&R is, it's rest and relaxation. So I was able to get away this weekend and have some downtime, and I was able to focus on me. I did not focus on anything work related, whether it was related to my full-time job, whether it's related to the publishing projects that I currently have in my queue. I was able to focus on me. And in doing so, I am happy to report that my new word count is 10,427. So if you watch my last video, the last video I was at 9,476. So that means that I have an increase of 951 words in 1 week. Now, you might not think that's significant, but for me, it's huge because with my busy schedule, I hardly ever get time to sit aside time to write. So I'm so excited that I was able to, like I said, steal away, have some R&R, and focus on my writing. So I'm over 10,000 words, 10,427 specifically, and that's in my current work in progress, which is The Night Season, Unlocking the Mystery of Your Dreams. The other thing that I shared last week is that I submitted the form for my Library of Congress number. I actually got that back. So that's been added to the manuscript. I also submitted last week information, the metadata for my ISBNs. You need a separate ISBN for your paperback. You need a separate ISBN for your EPUB if you're doing an EPUB ebook. So for each format that your book is published in, you need a separate ISBN. So I now have 2 ISBN numbers, one for the ebook, one for the paperback. So I am excited about that. That also means that with the metadata that was submitted for those ISBNs, I had to select a date that I anticipate my book being ready. So that's October 2022. And then I also had to select the price for the paperback as well as for the ebook. So all that's taken care of. What that means is now I'm actually able to complete the full book cover. For those of you who've been following me on social media, you know that the front cover is done, has been done for a while now, and I've been using that to do some promotions here and there for the night season. But now I could go ahead and do the complete cover because I have the ISBN number. I've determined what the price is going to be. So now I just need to go ahead and do 2 things: the author bio and the book synopsis. So the book synopsis, it's not going to be difficult. That'll get done around the same time that it's going to the professional editor for content editing. But the author bio. So this is a little tidbit I'll share with you about the author bio. With the author bio should change with each book that you publish. And let me distinguish why. The author bio should be based on what you're currently writing. So if you are writing nonfiction, and say, for example, if I'm writing about diversity, because I'm very steep in diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So if I'm doing a book on DEIA, which is the acronym for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, say that 5 times, then of course I want to talk about everything from my experience as far as me being a diversity professional. If I am writing something that is based on my experience as a senior pastor, then obviously I want to talk about my ministry background. And again, being in ministry for 20 plus, well, almost 25 years now. So you do want to shift your author bio to emphasize your credentials based on the topic that the book is being written on. You don't want to have, again, 500 word bio, because nobody's going to read through all of that, and it's really too much to emphasize your credentials as an author or an expert in that field, because that's what being an author does. It establishes you as an expert in that field, but you want to narrow it down. You want to keep it, I would say probably no more than 250 words at the most. 175 to 250 words for your brief bio. You want to keep it under that. and you want to really emphasize the things that are important. Please, 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 please do not have your author bio sounding like an obituary. We don't need to know where you grew up. We don't need to know when you got baptized. We don't need to know who your mom and daddy is unless you write a book about genealogy. So make sure that it is very specific to what you are writing about. So that's my sidebar about the author bio. So now I get to focus on creating the author bio specific for the night season, and we'll also work on that book synopsis. So hopefully I'll have some other wonderful news to share with you in the weeks to come. But for now, yay, I'm celebrating 951 extra words that I did this week. So thank you for hanging out with me and for paying attention and going with me on this ride as I share a little bit more about my author journey and my life as an author. And for those of you who don't know, the night season is actually going to be my 12th publication. I have 11 other books that have been published that I have been a part of, whether I was the primary author, which is the case for most of them. And then I have got two anthologies, actually it's more than two anthologies that I published. And then I've been a part of some other anthologies as well. So right now I have 11 published works as far as in books. I do also have two peer-reviewed journal articles as well. So I'm pretty thrilled about that. Being an author is something I always wanted to do since I was a little girl. I'll tell that story one day, maybe next week. We'll see. But for now, celebrating my win. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Good night.